What's going on, y'all? Chris with NoLimitSquad, your personal Isochain and fitness vlogging channel. Should we warm up before our Isochain sessions? The answer is yes. Again, I'm always transparent with us. Have I been warming up before every Isochain session? No, I haven't. Guilty as charged. Speaking to the choir on this one, let's see why it's important to warm up before our Isochain sessions. All right, so the first thing is, just like on the stretching machine, I never get on here without warming up first. So usually like 2 to 3 minutes. On a good day, I'll do it for 5, you know, whatever, do the jump rope first, get my cardio in, and then hop on here. If you think about it, right, you never want to stretch a cold muscle. And while this is stretching and the Isochain's different, there are a lot of parallels. Think about if you threw a rubber band in a freezer overnight, and then you open the freezer up the next morning and the rubber band is just a solid. You know, even though it's flexible and it bends, if you try and pull it after it's been in the freezer all night, it's just gonna snap in half, right? It's very similar concepts here. Hopping on the stretcher cold is just not wise. You know, you're opening up yourself for a lot of injury potential, which is not okay. And so the Isochain is very similar, okay? Because we're dealing with tendons and ligaments as well. We want to make sure that we're warmed up before we hop on here. Why? In our body, we have core temperatures and what's called shell temperatures, okay? Core temperatures are right around 37 degrees Celsius. So our shell temperatures, though, they're a little variable. They're not always at 37. Sometimes they need to warm up. Isometric strength drops off drastically if the shell temperature is not warm enough. For example, if our shell temperature is below 27 to 28 degrees Celsius, as soon as we dip below 82 degrees, that's when we start to really notice a difference in our isometric isochain pulls or contraction. Why does that happen? It's a decrease in metabolism because of the cooler temperatures. And it totally makes sense. Think about it. Right now outside, we just got hit with a foot of snow and it's still snowing. It's just not going to be able to develop as much strength like versus if we're warm. If we're warm and we go out shoveling, it's going to be a little easier to shovel versus have you guys ever just woke up and started shoveling the snow? I have. I noticed the difference because when I warm up and I start shoveling, it's a piece of cake. You know what I mean? Versus going at it cold and it's like, you know, dang, the first couple minutes are like, man, this really sucks. Now the act of shoveling is gonna warm you up, and then after that it's kind of gravy, but that initial phase is just like, wow, this really sucks. Another interesting factor, warmer temperatures, warmer environments help out a lot with the isometric training. Being in a colder, cooler environment actually takes away from the isometric gains. Here's a graph real quick. So in the graph, you have the temperature on the bottom. So on the left-hand side is time in minutes. So the environmental temperature on isometric endurance. By this graph, you can see that the longer that you want to hold it, the warmer that you want your body or even just your room to be. If you can see at the top there, at the very peak of this graph, 5 minutes is how long you would need to hold that contraction at that temperature. The warmer it gets, the less time you would need in order to completely warm up. All right, so those are just for longer contractions. What about our 6x6s like the Promethean and Sweet 16? What about those type of exercise protocols, right? We're just going for strength. Let's say that's your goal. Well, again, it translates, because if it translated for muscular endurance, it's going to translate for muscular strength too. So here's the graph for that. If you can see here, isometric strength on the left-hand side and muscle temperature on the bottom. So again, that 30 degrees Celsius is about 80-something degrees, 80, let's just say 85 on average. Look at the strength increase right there. From 15 degrees Celsius up until 30, I mean, that is a difference between 20% of your isometric strength and 100. I mean, that is just crazy. The warmer it is, the better off you're gonna be. So it's really important to warm up. If you've been tracking your numbers like I have, you may have noticed like on some days where you're just like, yo, I just don't have time, I'm just gonna hop right into it, as I've done that because sometimes I'm on a time crunch. I'm sure you guys are too. When we hop on here, sometimes we just don't have time for the warm up. That's fine. There's a chance we may still get high numbers. That's great, but we may get lower numbers, and it could be just because our shell tissue, the temperature of the muscle is just not warm enough yet. So what are some warm-ups? On my cardio days, I just do jump rope. So I usually just do the jump rope to warm up. I'll do that for like 5 to 8 minutes, and then I'll hop on the Isochain right afterwards. For the days that I'm not doing cardio, I'll just do something like this, like where it's just high knees. It's like what I used to do in track when I used to run track in school. Butt kicks. And then I used to do Insanity a while ago. Man, it's almost 10 years ago. So I used to do like these mummy kicks, like this. I used to hate these. Jumping jacks. And the Heisman. Getting really insanity in here, right? It just, I remember it all. Insanity is the only time I threw up. Oh, the memories. Those are the exercises I do, not just once I do each one for like, I have the timer on the interval timer app. Once I do each one for like 20 to 30 seconds, I'll go through another interval one more time, like 5 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes. Once I'm good, then I just hop on. Now, again, transparent. Do I do this every time? No. Some of my numbers reflect that. It is what it is, but at least we know why. A warmer muscle performs better on the isochain than a cold muscle. Do you want to warm up before your isochain session? Absolutely, yes. Yes, you do. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to drop a like. Go ahead and comment. Maybe you disagree. Tell us why. And if you're not yet part of the squad, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Come join the squad with us. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.